been a while since I've done one of these, but today I'm back with another bracket. Today I'm going to be doing a quadingleberry bracket, a quadratic formula bracket, a Quadeca torch bracket. So yeah, Quadeca just recently released a new album or mixtape, Scrapyard. I'm actually really mad at myself that I didn't react to it. I don't know why I didn't. I just wasn't feeling up to it. So trying to make up with it here so I can talk about the album a little bit here. Yeah, let's get into it. There's 26 songs here. I took all but Memories We Lost in Translation from Haunt You, and I took all of Scrapyard, and then there's Sisyphus in this as well. Personally, for me, I only started listening to Quadeca with Sisyphus. That was the first song I heard from him, and to be honest, there's not many other tracks on From Me to You that would even be worthy of being in this bracket. There are a couple tracks that get a bye, as you can see, Born Yesterday being one of them. So yeah, I'm gonna play a short snippet of every track for each round as well. The first round here, we have Pretty Privilege versus Picking Up Hands. And then Picking Up Hands. Oh, so good. Both incredible songs. Pretty Privilege, honestly, is becoming one of my favorites off of Scrapyard. I think just like the writing on that track is very vulnerable. It's a very unique song topic. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's got some great vocal harmonies and a nice drop at the end as well. In terms of Picking Up Hands, I feel like it's maybe just one of the weaker ones off I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. I mean, it does kind of have almost like a Tyler the Creator Igor feel to it, kind of the vocal effects and some of the strange instrumentation going on. I like it lyrically as well. I think it's a strong one lyrically off Haunt You, but I don't think it's one of the most stand out on that album. And honestly, I'm going to go with Pretty Privilege. I think I just find myself listening to that one a little bit more. So we're going to move Pretty Privilege to the second round. Next matchup here is I Make It Look Effortless versus Texas Blue. I'm filling my cup, but still half empty. I feel like a pessimist. Great beat on that one. It's short. I don't know how. It's probably not going to win against Texas Blue. So yeah, I Make It Look Effortless, short little banger off Scrapyard, cool music video to go along with it as well. I do like the production quite a bit on I Make It Look Effortless. I think the sample work is fantastic on that, and I like Quadeca's kind of confidence on that track. It's a rare breath of confidence on an album that is pretty insecure, and maybe that confidence is working as a mask for that insecurity. I don't know, but either way, it has kind of like a Rage, Playboy Cardi feel to it with just kind of the vocal delivery, which I really like. And then Texas Blue is the closer off Scrapyard. Absolutely fantastic. Quadeca's chemistry with Kevin Abstract here is killer. Kevin opens things up with those quickly delivered rap verses. The instrumentation is super beautiful. I love the kind of choral feeling of the choruses with all those vocals coming in. It feels like an ending credits type song, and yeah, I think Quadeca and Kevin absolutely killed it on that track. So I'm gonna take Texas Blue. I don't think that's much of a surprise. I think most people would have that moving on. Next matchup is Under My Skin versus Fantasy World. Super haunting. Alright, so Under My Skin, probably one of my least favorites off of Scrapyard. I do like the kind of emo, haunting feel of it. It honestly feels like something that could have been on I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, with Quadeca's kind of quivering vocal delivery and the very strange and ethereal instrumentation. Yeah, I like the songwriting quite a bit. I like the rap verse at the end of it. I feel like it's just a little bit underwhelming in comparison to some of the other tracks. Like the production isn't as ear-grabbing for me. And then going up against Fantasy World. Fantasy World is one of the biggest, most ambitious tracks off of Haunt You, of course. 7 minutes I think it is? Yeah, 7:18. Explosive, kind of a linear build to it. Production does a great job of like getting super massive and super lush, but not feeling too overbearing. Even though there is like, I think it even like clips at one point, and it gets really distorted at one point. But yeah, I think Fantasy World's gonna move on. I mean, it's just too ambitious of a track to not move on. Under My Skin is great, but it's just one of the lesser cuts off of Scrapyard, in my opinion. Next matchup here, You Tried That Thing Where You're Human versus House Settling.
that thing where you're human.
This one's a tough one, bro. This one is so tough. So you tried that thing where you're human, very stripped back, very intimate, vulnerable, kind of uncomfortable listen, but I think Quadeca's honesty and just the writing on that track is just an absolute gut punch, very relatable as well. And I love the instrumentation. I love how weird and like just strange, uncomfortable synths that go on. I love how closely mic'd Quadeca is. Even that like flute in the outro is great as well. Definitely one of the weirdest songs on Scrapyard, but I think it's very striking because of just how strange it is and again how honest it is. How Settling is another one of my favorites off of Haunt You. The Danny Brown feature is insane. The whole concept of the song is fantastic. Obviously, Danny, rapping from the perspective of carbon monoxide or whatever. Production, I think, is some of the best off that album. It's anxiety-inducing. It's frightening. Oh, I don't know where to go. They're so similar but so different at the same time. Like, one is very lush and one's more stripped back, but they both give this kind of eerie, uncomfortable feel. I think just like in terms of what I would rather listen to, I think I would rather listen to House Settling. So we're going to go with House Settling. Moving on. That's a very tough one though. Next one is Way Too Many Friends versus Sorry for Dying.
I got way too many friends, I got way too many friends, I got way too many friends, I got way too many.
All right, so two kind of more underrated tracks on each of their respective albums, I feel like. Way Too Many Friends, I didn't love at first, but it's grown on me quite a bit. I think it has shades of Tyler production as well. Even the video kind of reminds me of Sorry Not Sorry by Tyler. Obviously, the lyrics just talking about the difficulties of keeping up with so many people, and it really ties in with a lot of the themes on the rest of the album of like, even the track we were talking about before, You Tried That Thing Where You're Human, where you just are kind of sick of being human and all the things that go along with that. So I like the writing quite a bit. I like during that, I got way too many friends, how all those vocals come in and kind of drown it out, and it kind of symbolizes all those friends that he's talking about and how like overwhelming it is. So yeah, solid cut off of Scrapyard. Sorry for Dying, the intro off of I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. It sets the tone. It's not the best track off that album, but it does a good job of putting us in this atmosphere and in this world. I do like the drums on this one quite a bit, and I like just like the overall progression of it. It feels very cinematic and theatrical. This one is another tough one because neither one of these is like a super standout for me. I feel like they're pretty even. I think I'm going to go Sorry for Dying. It just feels a bit more ambitious and important to its album, so I feel like that kind of propels it over the top. Let's just keep going with this side of the bracket. Let's move on to Easier versus House Settling. It's so good. It's so freaking good. Just the writing on that track, just like detailing the complexities of this relationship. I want you in it because it's easier than nothing. It's got this like R&B kind of bossa nova feel to it almost. I love the kind of like 8-bit drums that come in at the end. It has this real like cute feeling to it. The flutes in there, the cello, the piano intro, kind of reminiscent of some Black Country New Road stuff. Probably some of the best writing off of Scrapyard. And I think it's gonna move on versus House Settling. I feel like I'm just kind of going off vibes and just like, what would I rather listen to right now, you know? And I think Easier is definitely the pick. Maybe we'll just get a lot of Scrapyard because of that fact. Next matchup here, Sorry for Dying versus Tell Me a Joke. We've already heard Sorry for Dying. Let's listen to Tell Me a Joke. Alright, so Sorry for Dying. It's a solid intro, but I don't even think it's close. Tell Me a Joke wins this easily. The writing on that track is pretty great. I honestly didn't love the writing at first with the whole intro of the cheesy jokes, you know. I felt like it was just a little bit too on the nose, but I don't know. It works for me now. I think the distorted drum outro is absolutely fantastic. I think the chorus, the ha ha, super clever, super catchy, great melodies all around, and yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the best off of Haunt You for sure. And then we have Easier versus Tell Me a Joke. This is a very tough matchup. I feel like it might be Tell Me a Joke. It just has a bit more for me to bite onto and really sink my teeth into, you know? This little dropout before the big drop at the end might be what puts it over the top. Just listen to like the synth sounds here. Right here. With the piano in there. Those ghostly like laughs in the back. Oh, I think it's Tell Me a Joke. I think the atmosphere of that track is just absolutely fantastic. The pacing of it. I mean, Easier's great, but again, what would I rather listen to? I think it's Tell Me a Joke. That's what we're going with. Tell Me a Joke moves on. Born Yesterday versus Pretty Privilege. Let's listen to a bit of Born Yesterday. It's Born Yesterday. Is it even close? Not really. Born Yesterday was in one of my favorite songs of all time videos, and I think it's a 10 out of 10 song. It might win this bracket. It is ambitious. It has made me cry several times. It's super explosive. You think it can't get any better, and then it just does. Like that last chorus that comes in, or the last like you just can't think it can get any better than the chorus before that part, but then that just it's so evocative. That's the best word I can think of. It's just, man, it is absolutely fantastic. Like I said, Pretty Privilege is great too, but Born Yesterday is just a different beast. Texas Blue versus Fantasy World. I made a face like that was going to be hard. The more that I think about it, I think it's just Texas Blue, actually. Fantasy World, I think it's close to a perfect track. I don't think it's quite there. I think the outro is honestly a little bit too long after that big explosion, and I get that Quadeca wanted it to kind of the track to breathe, but I don't know, when I'm listening to it, sometimes I just don't really have the patience for that outro. I think it's great, but I think Texas Blue is just a little bit more listenable and just a tighter experience in general. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Texas Blue. And then we got Texas Blue versus Born Yesterday. This is a good matchup. Texas Blue probably would move on against most tracks, but it's up against Born Yesterday. So yeah, we're going to go with Born Yesterday. It's moving on once again. It is, again, Quad's possibly his best song, so I wouldn't be surprised if it wins this bracket. Oh, crap. We got one more matchup for this side. Okay, Born Yesterday versus Tell Me a Joke. Born Yesterday is moving on. I'm not surprised. I don't know if you guys are surprised, but if you guys have watched any of my videos, you'll know that is one of my favorite songs of all time and probably his best. So, yeah, let's move on to the other side of the bracket now. First up, we got Guess Who versus Don't Mind Me. Okay.
Remind me, go ahead and take a shot, I'm taking it late. You know you can take my spot, stay in my beat. If your crime scene, my career fucking weird, can't even define me. Cause I couldn't tell a masterpiece from a tight beat, but you glorified interns in the side seat, bitch.
That one synth that's just like, you know what? Oh my, the synth work on that track is insane. The production, okay. Okay, great melody on that track, but honestly, I think Don't Mind Me is one of the weaker tracks off of Haunt You. It's one of the more straightforward. It feels like it could have been a single because it's just, I don't know. In comparison to everything else on the album, it feels a bit simple, in my opinion. I mean, it's still great, but it's just not one of the best. Guess Who is an absolute banger. Quadeca raps his ass off on that. Like, when I first heard that track, I was kind of turned off a little bit because I was like, is he going back to his stuff before, like, Haunt You and that kind of stuff? But honestly, I think this rapping is better than anything he's ever done before Haunt You, or even on Haunt You, or even on From Me to You. Yeah, I think it's the production is fantastic. It has kind of a Rage type feel to it, a Playboi Carti type feel. Yeah, the bars on there, there's some great bars on there. I love the confidence. I love the aggression. It doesn't come across as like insincere or forced in any way that some of his earlier tracks that go for the same thing kind of do. I think Guess Who moves on. I think it's just such a banger. It is absolutely insane. Next up, we have A La Carte versus Cassini's Division.
My favorite poem's what I couldn't say to you.
Oh, the first introduction to the Scrapyard era, so good, so freaking good. Okay, honestly, I think Cassini's Division is one of the more underrated tracks on Haunt You. I think it serves its job perfectly as a closer. I think the texture work on that track is amazing with the ghostly, kind of haunting vocals in the back. Thor Harris kills it on the drums. I think Quad's kind of pitched down and alien, otherworldly, inhuman vocal effects really drive home the point of this track really well. It's kind of him submitting to the light, or the static, I guess this album calls it, and you even have like the static at the end there. And even just like little details of the static in the end there, how it kind of funnels in, and how you could have done something really boring where it all just kind of fades in at one point, but there's really nice sound play with that static and how it kind of rains down, you know? So I think there's some really great details to this track. I don't think I come back to it as often as A La Carte, of course. A La Carte is extremely catchy. It's got a break-ins feature that he actually kills. I'm not a huge fan of Breakins and his solo work, but I think he fits on this track really well. I think the writing on this track is fantastic. This kind of emo rap type feel where it's my favorite poem was the one I read to you from the teleprompter on the tongue of my shoe. There's even like some trap drums that come in at one point that go extremely hard. I think there's so many good details to this track, like that little bass line that comes in near the end as well. Quadeca really killed it on the production here, and yeah, the break-ins feature is great as well. So I'm gonna go with A La Carte. It's probably my most listened to off of Scrapyard, because when it first came out, I mean, it was the first single for this mixtape album, and yeah, I just listened to it like crazy. I think I've probably overplayed it for myself at this point, but it's still absolutely fantastic. So next up we have Being Yourself versus Knots. Wow, this is a tough one. Oh, I just want to listen to the whole thing. It's so good. Especially not really better for anyone. Direction. I want you to do your job. We want you to do your job. I switch. Like, what even is this song? It's so good. It's so good. So this is obviously Quadeca's kind of Death Grips inspired track. The rapping on here is fantastic. I love how this track perfectly displays the feeling of having knots in your chest. You know, there's so much tension here. There's so much anxiety. The instrumental is absolutely insane with those buzzing synths and those. It's just so anxiety inducing. That's all it is. Like, and the drums that come in during that part that I played are so punchy. They hit so hard. It's so good. Being Yourself is fantastic too. This one is so tough. Being Yourself is such a hard track to pin down. It's got this kind of linear structure to it where it starts off kind of similar to You Tried That Thing Where You're Human. It starts off very creepy and very minimal and eerie, and then it builds into this like synth-based thing where it feels kind of like a Flying Lotus track. It gets even more insane. The drums come in. It gets distorted. This one's so tough. Being Yourself is one of my favorites off Scrapyard, and then Knots is one of my favorites off Haunt You as well. Listen to that percussion too right here. Yeah, I think it's Being Yourself. I think I gotta go with Being Yourself. It's so freaking good. I think it's just a little bit more unique. It feels more unique to Quadeca, and Knots, you can see more directly the influence. I feel like Being Yourself just feels a little bit more Quadeca's own thing. You know, as great as Knots is, there is some obvious influence that you can see there. And not saying that there isn't influence to Being Yourself, but I just feel like it's the way it's structured and the way everything comes together feels more hard to pin down. All right, so we have Even If I Tried versus Sisyphus. Another one of my favorites off Scrapyard. Insane. Okay, Sisyphus is great, but I kind of do have a hot take about Sisyphus. I think it's not even close to Even If I Tried. It is like his first like super ambitious track, I feel like, where you can see hints of what would come on his later albums. But I feel like the production at points is a little bit too clean. And I think in his later albums and his later work, he did a great job of kind of muddying things up and dirtying things to make it feel a little bit more abstract. Even the writing on Sisyphus feels a bit on the nose at times and a little bit cliche. So yeah, Sisyphus is great. It has a great build to it, and it has a great flow and structure, and definitely the best track easily off of From Me to You. But I think he just does what he did on Sisyphus so much better on his later stuff. And I think Even If I Tried is one of the more underrated ones on Scrapyard. The amount of people I see rating this track super low in comparison to the rest of the tracks on Scrapyard is insane. You got like 3 beat switches in this thing. Each beat is absolutely insane. The guitar on that first beat is so good. Quadeca's delivery is so like I don't know, in your face, and it just hits so hard. And then you got kind of like a jazzy bridge section in the middle, like this. Feels like some sort of like ceremony or ritual from hell, with how those vocals are like, and just like all this chaotic crap happening around it. It's very strange, very twisted, but again, one of the most unique Quadeca songs in my opinion. And I think it's going to move on. It's going to beat Sisyphus just because of, again, how crazy it is. What's It To Him versus Guide Dog is next.
I like to hide a little less. I'll be there myself. I want to be a guide dog.
So good. Both of these tracks are fantastic. What's It To Him took a little bit to grow on me. Obviously, you kind of have that Beatles-esque chorus that I felt was a little bit awkward with the instrumentation. I feel like it didn't pair that well, but now it just feels really unique, and it feels, I don't know, there's something about it that works. Very abstract writing on that track. It's cool, but I think Guide Dog is going to move on. Guide Dog is one of the most hard-hitting tracks, just like emotionally, on Scrapyard. It's obviously the most stripped back on the album. It's got this kind of emo singer-songwriter type feel to it. And yeah, the songwriting is absolutely fantastic. Wanting to be someone's guide dog, just wanting to be that light for somebody, you know, it's, the writing. Quadeca's vocals on here are actually like fantastic as well. Like, he can sing, you know, and I think he's proven that now with a couple tracks that he can, maybe he's not the most technically proficient singer in the world, but he really invokes a lot of emotion on this track, and it's short, it's sweet. Both tracks are great. Like I said, I think What's It To Him has grown on me a lot, but Guide Dog's got to move on. Next up, we have Dust Cutter versus Guide Dog. Let's play some Dust Cutter real quick. The sample work on this track is insane. Just that groove playing throughout the entire thing. Such a unique atmosphere. Quadeca's vocal delivery, very abstract and very like clouded in effects. He gets very strange and very like high pitched and whiny and kind of just like harsh at points. But I think this track is just such a unique atmosphere. Another one that kind of feels like it could have been on Haunt You. I love the 808s that come in at some point. Like, Quadeca does a great job of building these very strange atmospheres, but then keeping it grounded with some elements that are very familiar and very easy to listen to, like those 808s, you know? So yeah, I think Dust Cutter's such a great intro to Scrapyard. Grew on me a lot. I didn't love it at first, but now it's definitely one of my favorites. And then Guide Dog, as we talked about earlier. This one's really tough because they offer such different things, but I feel like I love both of them equally, you know? Dust Cutter feels more like a quintessential Quadeca song, at least like what we know him to be as an artist right now. Guide Dog feels like a little bit more of a detour to something else. That maybe he can explore in the future, but I feel like I'm going to go Dust Cutter just because it feels, again, more like a quintessential Quadeca song. That one's so tough, but both fantastic tracks. Fractions of Infinity versus Even If I Tried.
I see my life inside your head. What's caving, we start to play. See all I ever understand.
One of the best tracks off of I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. Those words don't do you justice. So good. Sunday Service Choir brings everything together in that outro. Some of his best rapping, I feel like. The flows here are fantastic. Love the pianos. I love the bounce to the beat during that part that I was just playing. I love the weird synths in the beginning there. Great flow to this track. I think it's going to be Even If I Tried. Even If I Tried is great. Like I said, I gave it a lot of praise in that last round, but Fractions of Infinity just feels like a more important Quadeca song. And then we got Fractions of Infinity versus Dust Cutter. This is actually a really tough one. What the heck, dude? No.
Throw some brain on if you can, and that is that.
I think the vocal performance on Dust Cutter is more interesting, like the shaking to my core. It's very like emotive. Just Fractions of Infinity. Those words don't do you justice. That refrain is so good. Why did I do this to myself? This is too tough. Honestly, I'm gonna go Dust Cutter. The more I think about it, it feels a bit more unique. The atmosphere feels a bit just more striking. So yeah, we're gonna go Dust Cutter. I don't know. Maybe like if I did this tomorrow, I would have went Fractions of Infinity. That's a very close one. Let's play You Don't Know Me Like That.
I held you still.
Oh, it's so good. So good. I feel like this track is a lot of people's favorite off of Scrapyard. You got the high-pitched vocals. It feels kind of hyper-poppy, kind of a Brockhampton feel to it as well. One of the catchier tracks off of Scrapyard. It feels a bit more straightforward, but there is still a lot of texture and detail to the instrumental. A lot of little weird instrumental turnarounds and good melodies on this one as well. And that synth outro at the end goes super hard as well. Very colorful. It's not personally one of my... I mean, actually, it probably is. I don't know. Versus Guess Who? Which is better, dude? This is so hard. I think You Don't Know Me Like That's going to move on. Guess Who's great, but I just think maybe the melodic aspect of You Don't Know Me Like That works a bit better for me, so I don't know. That one's really tough, but we're going to go You Don't Know Me Like That. Next up, we have A La Carte versus Being Yourself. This one's so hard, too. I was going to say, like, 2 months ago, if you asked me this, well, obviously 2 months ago, I would have said A La Carte, because Being Yourself wasn't out yet, but A La Carte used to be, like, one of my favorites, or was my favorite, but I feel like I've overplayed it for myself. I got to try and remove that overplayed factor and just think about the song itself. A La Carte's catchier, more standard song structure, maybe a bit more replayable, but Being Yourself is so unique. I feel like it's a bit more thought-provoking. The part of me that wants to be like cool and different, you know, wants to pick Being Yourself, but the realistic part of me is going to pick A La Carte because I think it's, I don't know, it just feels like a better song in general. Being Yourself has some really great ideas. I don't know. What would I rather listen to right now? Probably A La Carte. So we're going to go with that. And then we got You Don't Know Me Like That versus A La Carte. This is stupid. Why did I do this bracket? This is impossible. Both of these are, again, just amazing. I feel like You Don't Know Me Like That's a little bit more interesting, just like sonically with those pitched up vocals and even the instrumentation feels a bit more interesting. A La Carte feels like the best, like, Quadeca pop song, you know? Dude, I don't freaking know. This is stupid. Dude, even just like the let's go part of You Don't Know Me Like That, like, such a strange choice, but it just works so well, and I love it every time that comes in. This might be actually the hardest choice yet. Yeah, I'm gonna go A La Carte. I know there's some vocal inflections on that track that people don't love, like the you, but I think that's what really makes that track special. I think it really sets it apart, and it's fun. It adds a fun factor to the track as well as just, I don't know, it adds a lot of character and personality to it. So A La Carte takes that. And then we have A La Carte versus Dust Cutter. I think I'm going to go Dust Cutter. I think just like that vocal performance is insane. Oh, yeah, we're going Dust Cutter. I didn't think that was actually going to be I don't think it's an easy choice, but I thought I was going to have to think a little bit more about that. But there you go. Dust Cutter takes out A La Carte. And now we have the finals. Dust Cutter versus Born Yesterday. Now, I could sit here and act like this is going to be a tough matchup, but it's Born Yesterday. Come on. It's no surprise. It's Born Yesterday. It's the winner. His most ambitious, well thought out, well paced track, most emotional. I think it's his best. Easily. Dust Cutter is great, but there's not really a competition here. So Born Yesterday is your winner of the Quadingleberry bracket. Lots of these matchups were really tough, so let me know which matchups you disagreed with down below. Let me know what your winner would be. And yeah, this was super fun. Thank you guys for watching. Cannot wait for Quadeca's next album, which I think is called, what was it? No. I almost said Punisher. It's not that. It's Vanisher. That's what it is. Okay. Hopefully coming out this year. We'll see. I'm going to promise right now that I'll actually be doing a reaction because, again, I'm super mad I didn't react to Scrapyard. So let me know your thoughts on this again down below. Leave a like if you want. Subscribe. Go join the Patreon if you want to see some uncut reactions. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.